Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
Kent Hovind.
An inmate at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. This call will be recorded and monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $19.22. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right. Well, brother, to add one more thing to that last question, if you could all together somehow to answer Matthew's question. Matthew, you might, of course, be respectful, but talk to your grandpa and say, Grandpa, let me read Matthew 24. Matthew 24, verse 3 through 27, that Jesus is answering the disciples' question. They asked him in verse 3, Lord, when are you coming, and what's the sign that we watch for? Same thing, parallel passage in Mark 13 and in Luke 21. Line those three up side by side, like I did in my book, What on Earth's About to Happen. Look down at Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. It could not be more clear. After the tribulation, the sun and the moon go dark, and there's an earthquake, and then Jesus comes. And if you read the Mark and Luke passages, it adds the details about the trumpet. And just look for all the phrases in the Bible, there are 10 of them, where the sun and the moon go dark. That is the sign for the rapture, and it comes after the tribulation, but before the day of the Lord. Acts chapter 2 talks about the sun and the moon going dark before the day of the Lord. That comes from the book of Joel. The sun and the moon go dark is mentioned 10 times. The first one is Isaiah 13:10, and then there's one in Ezekiel 3 in the book of Joel, Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, Acts chapter 2, Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. It could not be more clear. That's the sign. They asked him, Jesus, when are you coming and what's the sign? And he told them all 3 times. And I cannot believe that I missed it for 40 years. And I'm embarrassed, quite frankly, but I got it now. So it's tribulation, sun and the moon go dark, rapture, and then the day of the Lord. 2 Thessalonians 2 is very clear that the day of Christ, which is the rapture, that's not the same as the day of the Lord. The day of Christ cannot come until there's a falling away and the man of sin is revealed. That happens in the middle of the 7 years when Antichrist is revealed. So, yeah, I would encourage you to look through my book, and if you find something wrong, let me know. I promise you, I will change it. I don't like to teach anything. I try intentionally never to teach anything that I know to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm sorry and I'll fix it. So thank you for the question. Hope that helps.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Hovind. The next question is a follow-up question about Sodomites in the church. And I don't write the questions, I just read them. But I got to say that this particular topic seems to dominate radio, television, and just discussion in general for just being such a small portion of the population. But in any event, this question comes from Clive in Ireland. And he heard your previous answer regarding Sodomites in the church. And he's got a couple of paragraphs that he would like to be read to you. It says, Okay. It says, been following your broadcast on YouTube and find them all very good. I have a comment on the latest one in regards to homos in the church. Firstly, I disagree that they should be led in the church, and I would go along with Stephen Anderson on this. I believe we are to go into the highways and hedges to give the gospel and compel them to come into the church. The church is expressly for edifying of the saints. It is not a place to bring in the unsaved and to try to get them converted, and this is not biblical at all. Yet it seems that churches will take in anyone to try to fix the barn doors after the horses have bolted. wrong in every way. Fair enough if you go out and preach the gospel to queers and they manage to get saved, although I find it hard to see any real evidence of this online. If you look at most testimonies of ex-queers, they are heavily into repenting of their sins, and therefore they are relying on the will of themselves not to sin, which
equals from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office,
which equals works. These are fooling themselves and are back under the law no matter what way you look at it. Then they should be a part of the congregation. But if you let adulterers, fornicators, queers, thieves, etc. into your church, they are like cockroaches. How can you get them out again? And do you then water down your sermons to keep them happy? Please let me know your thoughts on this. God bless. Clive from Ireland. So as you can tell, there's a lot of controversy on this topic. So we appreciate your thoughts on that.
Okay, well, first place, he does have an interesting point, and I tend to agree that bringing people to church to get them saved is not the ideal way to do it. We're supposed to go out into the highways and hedges and get them saved, and then bring them to church so they can grow. Many churches, though, think the only place you can get saved is at the church, and I think that's exactly backwards. You should go out into the highways and hedges, which is what I have done for 46 years. Get people saved out on the street or in their home or at the playground or wherever you can. The church is indeed for growth. However, people can come there and get saved too. They better be able to. Now, you can do any rules you want for your church. You can have a church for left-handed, one-eyed people if you want. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And if you're not left-handed and one-eyed, you don't get to go. That's your business. There are people who try to be exclusive on all kinds of things. Now, as far as not letting them come to church, I'd have to strongly disagree. Anybody can come. Where are you going to draw this line? And how are you going to enforce it? And why only homosexuality? Why not adultery? Why not lust? Are you going to ask all your church members, do you have any pornography in your house? Do you watch any TV that has scantily clad women? Where on earth would you draw this line, and how on earth could you possibly enforce it? The answer to the question, should you water down your sermons? Absolutely not. Just the plain old hard preaching of the truth will automatically weed the garden. You don't need to worry. They won't feel comfortable. You just simply preach the truth. But if you're going to preach against homosexuality, and you should, then you should also preach against lust. And you should also preach against adultery and premarital sex and theft and being lazy on your job. If the boss is paying you for 8 hours and you're not working 8 hours, you're a thief. Yes, you should preach against all those sins. But we tend to pick on that particular one, and I think that's a mistake. I think homosexuality is wrong, it's wicked, it's evil, it's of the devil, but so is a lot of other stuff. And so I think we tend to, some people, I'm convinced, are picking on that particular sin purposely to take the pressure off of anybody preaching on their sin. So go look, like Jesus. Adultery, no question, it was wrong. And the woman was, the guys dragged her out and said, hey, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act, John chapter 8. Well, you got to wonder, hold on a minute, where's the man? Doesn't this take two? You know, where is the man? Why didn't they drag him out? And Jesus never said, no, she shouldn't be stoned. He said, okay, whoever was without sin cast the first stone. And beginning at the eldest, that's interesting, they left. The longer you live, Clive, I think the more you realize we've all got sin we need to work on, and the less holy you feel like God, the closer you get to God, actually, the more flaws you see in yourself. The brighter the light gets, the closer you get to God, and the more imperfections you see. Everybody looks good in the dark, but you turn the light on and look in the mirror, and gee whiz, you got some problems, you know. So I preach against all the sins. If you really preach hard against all sins, you'll have a church with exactly nobody in it. Nobody will come if you preach hard enough on them. So, right. So do not water down your sermons, but I do not see why that one particular sin, and it is a sin, it's wicked, it's wrong, but I don't see why that should be singled out above all others. I'm sorry, I disagree. Okay.
All right, thank you, Pastor Hovind. I've heard it said many times, if I go to a church service and I don't feel like the pastor stepped on my toes, and I don't feel like I really went to church. So, very good.
Right.
Okay, Pastor Hovind, the next question comes from a person by the name of DOP, D-O-P. I'm not sure where this person's from, but they're very excited. They put a lot of exclamation points in their email, and here goes. Has to be read! Exclamation, exclamation. Pastor Hovind has to be the one to speak to the church. All of us, the salt of the earth. There is no time on earth to be wasted. Brother Kent is the only one that seems like he has no hate. He can bring many different people together. How can I try to win souls when the church of God is out of order and full of hate? Every literally church pastors teach hate. It seems like they all want to mock each other's teachings instead of talking to each other. In the end, they teach hate. Why be named different kinds of Christians? Why not bring together the church together and bring God's word to people, not hate? I think Brother Kent is the one to do it. And so that was Dop's email to you, sir. Any comment to that?
Okay, well, thank you. Glad you enjoyed the material. My goal is not and never has been to bring anybody together for anything. My goal is to preach the truth. Jesus, he went around preaching the truth, and sometimes people followed him, and sometimes they got mad at him and they all left, like John chapter 6. You never worry about the crowd. To me, go back to when God called Saul to be king of Israel. He was a good man at first. And it says, there went with him a band of men whose hearts God had touched. I think it's in 1 Samuel 10 or 11 or 12, somewhere in there.
This call is from the Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Like with our staff at Dinosaur Adventureland and Creation Science, I didn't try to build a big staff. I just said, this is what we're doing. If you want to come help, fine. If you don't want, then don't. Nobody signs any contracts. Nobody's come for a week, come for a month, come for 10 years. Come when you want, leave when you want. So I am not trying to build a big ministry. I'm not trying to get a big crowd together, and I'm not the one to try to get everybody together. I would say everybody preach the truth. If you want to, if you like that, come with. If you don't, then go do your own. No, I'm not a lover or a guy trying to bring harmony and peace, because I've never seen it fail. When someone decides, hey, we're going to build this big organization and we're going to bring everybody together to accomplish a goal, you almost always have to end up compromising on something. Well, we're not going to talk about that because that will offend these people, or we're not going to talk about this because that'll offend these folks. And I just don't play that game. I read the word, I preach it like I see it. If somebody shows me where I'm wrong, I change. And then if they want to follow, fine. If they don't, okay, go somewhere else, you know. There's like trying to get all the creation ministries together. I have absolutely no interest in doing that. I don't work with any other creation ministries. I sell their material. Sometimes I have to put a disclaimer with it. I have for years sold material from Henry Morris, the Institute for Creation Research, and Ken Ham, Answers in Genesis, and Carl Baugh. And I recommend you can watch my seminars. I mean, I recommend all of those guys. Some of them absolutely will not even mention my name. They don't recommend me for nothing. Okay, I think it's their loss, but that's their problem. I'm not trying to build a unity or a coalition. I would be the worst person to do that. I look at the Word, I say, God, what do you want? I look at the Father's face. Lord, show me what you want. I'm trying to follow you and you only. And if somebody else wants to come along for a while, great. Some might want to come along for the rest of their life. Some might want to come along for a few years. Okay. No, you come when you want, you leave when you want. That's been that way. We had up to, 40-some people working at our ministry for a while, and then it drops back down to 10. Okay. No problem. It doesn't. I'm just trying to find other people who want to follow the Lord. So glad you're excited. Be careful, though, because to me, that's one of the things that distracts people from the truth, is their desire to bring unity. That's the problem politicians have. They're so intent on building a coalition so they can get elected, they forget the main point. So I would never make it as a politician. Okay.
No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. That's very powerful stuff. All right, the next question comes from Nico, and Nico has two questions. The first question is, hey, Rudy, it's Nico. I asked a question about the Pentecostal denomination a couple of weeks ago. Thank you, Kent, for answering my past question. You shined light on the topic and revealed biblical truth. But even after me and my mom reviewed what
60 seconds remaining.
What speaking in tongues really is, Acts chapter 2, She still insists that she was given the gifts of tongues. She's a very godly woman, and I don't doubt her for 1 second. I guess it's just hard to say when you're wrong to someone you love. What do you think? And you're welcome to call back, Pastor Hovind. Just if you don't call back, don't forget Pastor Manning, 9:37 tomorrow morning.
No, I can call back. No problem. No.
Okay, very good. We'll look forward to your call back. All right, that was Pastor Hovind, and we look forward to him calling back. And we're doing Bible questions, and it's a real blessing to hear all these questions being addressed. And I consider this a real blessing. God bless. I hope you consider it a blessing too.